Alright, hello, greetings and welcome in everyone. Hi. My name is Harrier Citadel, avian alien sentinel of Fort Misthaven, perpetrator of creative chaos and general maker of things. Welcome in! Hello, Tawny, hello. How are you doing? Hehe. We are here, we're here, woohoo! And we are gonna, if we are incredibly lucky, be very productive tonight. Hehe. Braid, hello, welcome in. Good luck with the ref sheet, lurking. Enjoy your lurk. I hope that whatever you are busy with goes well. I'm just making sure that I've got all of the parameters on this one. Just in my head so that I don't do the dumb with the layout. But yes, we are indeed ref sheeting today. We are working on Krahazik's feral form, which has been a long time coming. So, it is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. So I think let us dive right into it, because otherwise the night's gonna begin to run away with us just a little bit. Let me just go right over there so that we can see what we've got going on. So my layout is a little bit different from usual today, because obviously we're dealing with a feral which is not in the vertical aspect ratio. So references up top today. So that's just my initial sketch for the physique in question. It was probably one of the quickest design/conversion processes I have encountered in the last 3 years. Easily one of the quickest processes, in the sense that it was literally just a matter of, okay, we need a feral mode of this that has already been designed. Let's go. So yes, really straightforward to get this all set. So in terms of what we are looking for on this reference sheet, there are going to be a couple of things. I'm just gonna come over here. Actually, I'm gonna open the clip file for that. I'm gonna open the clip file for his anthro. And then just zoom in a little bit. Of course, it's being temperamental now. There we go, that'll do the trick. Okay, so that was the anthro form, and this is now our feral sketch. I just want to make sure I've got that accessible so that if I need to copy a piece over, I can do so relatively easily. Okay. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually grab this in its entirety, put this in a group, and go copy and paste over here. And I'm gonna use this as the foundations because it is quite rough, because it was drawn with a pencil tool. What I want to do is I want to start by just extending this the entire approximate width so that we get the best resolution out of it that we can. Reduce that opacity. There we go. And this is going to be our inks. This is going to be our fill. And we're going to start by just inking this out. Alex, welcome in, welcome in. Good to see ya. Just want to check what exactly did I do with the nose. Okay, it's a bit sharper. There we go. Hope you guys are doing well. I hope that Wednesday treated you kindly. And before I forget, which I had, doing alright, catching up on Final Fantasy XIV, woohoo! Yes! Looking forward to seeing you on Monday with that. Maybe. If I am incredibly lucky, and things work out in such a way that it's possible, I might actually also get a chance to play on Sunday a little bit. We'll see. That is, if I don't decide to try and squeeze in some work on Miss Tate and things. I won't lie, I think I'm too fast. My monk's already at level 52. Oh my word. That's insane. Okay, wow. Okay, I need to make an adjustment here, I see. Clear it. Because I've got dissimilar proportions and that's not gonna work. So, that needs to come in a bit. That needs to come down a bit. That needs to come a bit bigger. That needs to come down a bit. Okay. Yeah, Alex, you really did go lightning speed. Wow. I know you said that you were speed running a little bit, but that's hectic. And my main quest level is only 42. Oh. Okay, so you're still relatively sane on the MSQ. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's not impossible to go through really, really quickly. In early story. Like, I personally can't remember trying to ever speedrun a character, but it does not seem like it's a particularly difficult thing to do. Not for early game, but I feel like past level 60 it's a slog. Yeah, I think that happens intentionally because otherwise you get all the way to the level cap way too fast. And then it feels very unsatisfactory. Is this your character, Ria? What's the law? This is actually Krahazik, who we see in chat every so often. Comes in and says hi and lurks a little bit. He does actually make a cameo appearance in Project Misthaven because Krahazik has been an absolute champion and has been sneakily helping out with some pre-production on a couple of 3D assets that are going to make my life infinitely simpler later. So I can't pay him, but I can give him a bit of story relevance. So he's going to be making an appearance. But yeah, this is Krahazik's feral form. Yeah, he does a lot of 3D modeling streams and also playing builder type games as well. So he's also a streamer. If you enjoy that sort of thing, definitely worth checking out. Yeah, he mostly streams on Twitch as well, so if that's where you're at, pop him a follow and enjoy some constructive lurks every now and again and wave some motivational pom-poms. Also, I think I remember I had to spend 3 weeks getting my Reaper from 80 to 90. Sure. I can see why you guys get along. Very similar cuddly tastes. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When the original character design was taking place, he did mention that he liked black and loud green as well. So in the first pass of the color swatch, before I did any adjustments, I actually think I used the Harrier color swatch. Initially. But I do think that it changed since then. Hold up. did. I think it did change since then, right? Because that. And that are definitely not the same. And that is definitely not the same. And that is definitely not the same, yeah. So there were minor hue tweaks, but very much in the same vein. Although I might be messing up my timelines, because this was still initially done when I was in, pre-Harrier life. I generally try to not talk about past life too much. There was a lot of good in that time, but man, it did not end pretty. Let's just leave it at that. My brain was a mess at the time. Glad you're doing better? Yes, thank you. Definitely in a much, much better headspace at the moment. I'm curious to see this finished, the kitty dragon. Yes, so that is the rough sketch on the feral form in the top reference over there that I've got that I'm busy tracing. So for the reference purposes, it is still gonna be a bit flat in appearance. But basically what we're going to be doing is looking at scales. Lots and lots of scales. These ones were drawn in manually so that an artist could get a sense for what kind of texture exists all over the character. It took a while. Obviously, attempting to draw all of this for a full render is insanity. So this is more a matter of giving the idea of texture so that you can use your cheating render tricks to make it look right. Without needing necessarily all of the detail. Sending you strength to get through all that again? Yeah, no, it should be fine. It should be fine. I just want to come back to the top of the neck here. because thankfully the character design is symmetrical. So really I only need to do this once. Per view, and like the side view is only going to be visible once because it's the same on both sides. The main thing is getting the distinction between the different scale groups. There we go. And then we get into our rows. So past the elastic scales under the tongue into the more guarding scales on the underside of the neck. And you can see it's more just about defining shape. So now, okay, which scales are squarish and which ones are less so. Basically thinking, if someone had to sculpt this in ZBrush, which scale brush patterns would they use on the sculpt, in which places? Where's it crocodile scales? Where's it snake scales? Where's it belly scales? Where's it back scales? That sort of thing. Obviously, the number of rows is not exactly the same between the anthro and feral form, but that is something that is a completely reasonable matter of artistic license. The anatomy matches, it doesn't need to be an exact one-to-one. There are exactly 34 rows of this type of scale on the underside of the neck. No, we don't need that level of detail, because why? No artist is going to reasonably comply with that. They're going to go for what looks proportionally right. And perfection is unnecessary. That's the nice thing here. Because it's all about getting the idea across and the proportion across effectively. What the boundaries look like. Size differences between different types of scales and so on. Now, do I have a scale brush in Clip Studio? I think so. Am I going to use it? No, because it's going to take me longer to find it than it is to actually... and to figure out how to get it to use it nicely than to actually do this. And get it mapped out nicely. If nothing else, this is going to be consistent. Although that last row looks absolutely abysmal. Rotate. Okay, there we go. Okay, so far so good. Calyx, hello, hello, welcome in. How goes? Hehe. While I'm here, I might as well talk about a little bit of housekeeping that I did a little bit earlier today. So, anyone in the Discord might have noticed, or maybe not, I would not be surprised either which way. Discord is busy. With a whole bunch of people in a whole bunch of places, so I don't expect everyone to keep 100% tabs on what's happening in any server at any given point in time. But I did a little bit of housekeeping in the Discord in terms of making a couple of new channels, rearranging a handful of them, and so on. And basically, what I've done is I have just made a separation for what I'm going to call the support station, which is basically the fan art and the wish lists and place to actually put any suggestions for the wish lists that I might have omitted. But if there's something you guys would specifically like for me to add to it, that I can just review and see, okay, is that something that I feel comfy adding to the wish list, yay or nay, and then add things accordingly. But also fan art channels not only for me, but also for the rest of Project Misthaven. Because later, hopefully that might be a thing, right? As soon as I've actually got character profiles fleshed out such that you can actually see references for things. Other than the intense lower back pain when sitting or standing or walking, all good. Oh no, that does not sound good at any point in the fight. Oh man. Is it like spinal lower back pain or is it muscular? Or is it impossible to tell? Feel spinal? Ooh. Oh dear. You might want to get that checked out. Giving it a few days rest? Yeah. If it feels like it's in your bones, then it's a bigger problem than if it feels like it's in your muscles. Not gonna lie on that front. Internet says walking is best. Depends on what's wrong. Honestly, the back is not something one should play around with. Yes, walking is generally good, but if there is an actual skeletal issue, impact might actually cause more problems. So, if it is in fact in the bones, I would get that checked out as a matter of urgency. If you get it checked out and they tell you, nope, it is in fact not in the bones, it's in the muscles, then probably something minor like increased physical activity or maybe a massage and a visit to a chiropractor should sort you out. Asterisk depends on the chiropractor. But if it's in the bones, nope, then it might be something that you need to pay a little bit more attention to. So I'd definitely get that checked out. My logic is I didn't really do anything to warrant this pain, so it's probably something minor. Yeah, well, even if there wasn't necessarily an actual impact or trauma, there are a lot of factors that can cause things like disc slippages and so on. So yes, please go check it out or get it checked out. Save yourself future pain as much as possible. Even a simple rolling on the bed could cause the spine to do... I didn't... Oopsie, now your nerves are snapped. Yeah, unfortunately that is true. Depending on your build and how much musculature support exists around your spine. Even the smallest little thing can cause a really, really big dump, because let's just be real. Human anatomy is weird. Depending on even the tiniest fraction of a centimeter's difference this way or that way, you are either made out of glass or rubber. And injuries happen for the stupidest reasons. This did happen 6 or 7 months ago too, and it just passed eventually without me doing anything, so I'm less concerned this time around. Okay, that's interesting. But have you been doing any exercises to increase the muscular support on your lower back? And that's a hydrate. So everyone, let's acquire our nearest safer consumption beverages and take a sip. Because it's also very easy for problems like that to become chronic if they're left unchecked. Before or after the pain began? Between the bouts of pain. In the span of months before it came back, did you do any exercises to build muscles to support the lower back? 0 changes? Okay. That might be a contributing factor to why you got hurt a second time. Maybe. I'm not happy with that. Are you calling me fat? No, I'm saying that lower back musculature is something that in an inert lifestyle can be very, very easily neglected. I am petite and I have got 0 lower back musculature. Like, pathetically little. And some days I can feel it. In terms of how my body responds to things. So, regardless of your weight class, not having the core strength, which also goes towards the back, not just the front, it can have knock-on effects. Especially when you lead an inert lifestyle like I do. Like, sometimes the problem is honestly just not having enough meat on you. Am I calling myself out? Yes, I am. Main issue I'm having is leaning. Any kind of bend forward is atrocious. Yeah, that definitely sounds like a lot of strain on the big muscles that go literally from the top of the spine all the way to the bottom. You'd be surprised how often humans do that without even thinking. Yep. Mobility, it is one of the biggest and most appreciated things that we deal with. After the lean and I get stable, it's much more tolerable. That makes sense. I would say get it checked out for safety, or all the same. But do not be surprised if the answer you get back is you need to do exercises to strengthen your back. I would honestly not be surprised if that's the answer you get after getting it checked out. I should get ahead of the checkup by doing tons of exercise beforehand. Do not do exercise while you are injured. That's the #1 way that you get more injured. Like, seriously, it is the #1 way that you get more injured. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard stories of sports people who feel like they're on the run for recovery, and then they start exercising again, only for the injury to come back worse because they overdid it. Yeah. Don't blindly follow people on the internet. People on the internet are generally ill-informed of independent circumstances and are therefore not qualified to provide proper medical advice. Which should be tailored to your independent circumstances. Because the guy on the internet does not exactly know what's happening inside your body. At least I'm not listening to the AI. Yeah. If someone does that, then I really cannot help them. I like looking at AI stuff on things, I know, to laugh at how wrong it is sometimes. Ooh. You know what's incredibly meditative? Sorting your trading cards. I can believe that. I can't say I've got experience in that, but I can believe it. Sometimes doing sorting exercises can be a great way to just, no thought, just pack. Turn the brain off, head empty. Krahazik, hello, welcome in. I'm home from work. Awesome. Yay! Toaster! Welcome in, welcome in. You made things go boom? Hehehe. Was it fun? That is the question. Were the explosions satisfying? That shoulder looks familiar. Yes, it ought to. It ought to. If it didn't, I'd be concerned. Hehehe, indeed. Now, that section I actually want to leave alone for the moment. Because I first want to do the ventral view on that map. Just to make sure that it makes sense. Hope you're all well. Yay! Yeah, we're being productive. Scales. Lots and lots of scales. So far, so good. Not bad for 50 minutes work so far. Speaking of, I forgot again. There we go. The power mentioned was amazing. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, let me see. This is gonna be side. Canvas size. Do not center. Yes. Here. Pull down. Let's make this a 430 square. There we go. Get rid of that one because we're not going to need it. And we want a symmetry ruler over here. And this is going to be ventral. 1, 2, 3. That's going to be the sketch. I want my pencil. Now, on the ventral view, that ought to be... Figuring out the dimensions will be interesting. Just a little. Now the neck is 2 heads long. So on. Two heads long there. Clear that. Wait. Clear that. All right. I'm just going to scale this down a little bit. There we go. Then we're going to have rib cage, hip bone. Okay. Shoulder, flanks. All right. And I will do separate side sketches for the undersides of the paws. But that should give us a decent idea of what's going on there. So let's just reduce that opacity and come over here and just start giving ourselves some lines to work with. Something like that. And in this side, what I want to do is just want to check on the bottom of the throat here, exactly how I handle these. Not all the way to the center. All right. Okay. Then that's gonna put us in that aspect and ready for that floof. There we go. because that is ahead of the shoulder. Clear those. Clear those. Okay. Let's just get this framed properly. So that it can be appropriately copied. Okay. So first things first, we've got 1, 2 of those. Almost. There you go. This makes sense so far, yes. This is making sense so far still. All right. Okay. Now here, this section that goes basically the equivalent of the armpit is going to be an interesting one. So, let's start by just determining where the keels on these are going to go. Because they obviously can't 100% match the Anthro version's keels. Not happy with that. Okay, getting there. Okay, this is making sense now. This is now making sense. Okay, which means that the abdominal scales can now easily follow a pattern here. What I am gonna do though is I'm just gonna quickly here map out scale boundary. And flip you sideways ish, just so that I can do this, so that I know what I'm tracing. Just without having any weird extra details to contend with, or needing to kind of figure it out from scratch in my head. There we go. This is going to help keep it consistent. Although, I'm going to stick on the rotation because that is easier on the wrist. A little bit more. Not that much. That's where it went wrong. Okay. That definitely needs to be, at this point, not getting broader, it needs to be getting narrower at this point. Because otherwise, leg movement does not make sense. About like... so. That makes more sense. Ish. Almost. Let's take it like that. And I'm already breaking my pattern by a long ways. Yeah, okay. And at this point, these are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Until such time as we don't even consider them worth mentioning anymore. Okay. So that's that. Now that can get emptied again. And then we have the row that's going to wrap up around the ribs like that. I'll come back to what's happening inside the armpit. First, let's just apply our boundary. Okay. And now, let me see. I want to be in that space again. So these go into the deltoid, or under the deltoid, essentially, basically. But that is obviously not going to work in this case. Because of just how everything is shaped. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manipulate accordingly. Because we need to remember that what happens between the chest and these areas here is softer tissue. So it's going to behave fundamentally very differently from the anthroform over here. That's how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Okay. There we go. That'll work. Okay. Now ribs. And let's see. We're going to pull that back a little bit further. Okay, so that more or less is our ventral view. Now we duplicate that and call it dorsal. Hide you. Literally grab everything in the middle and be gone with it. Yeah, those. Okay. Right, that makes sense. And that is a hydrate. So everyone, time to acquire our nearest safe for consumption beverage and take a sip. Oh. There we go. Okay, that will do the trick. Yep. Update! I can finally lay in bed. Woohoo! That is always a nice point of the day to finally reach. Also, thank you for the commission, Harrier. Oh, no, thank you. You're the one who submitted a request and is waiting for me to get to sketching. So thank you for the work. I can wait, I've seen the work you do. Yes. I am planning on doing your sketch probably on Friday. I think that's when I'm going to end up working on your sketch. I think. I just need you to confirm whether or not you want me to include the background and how much of it. Because it's going to impact how I approach the sketch in terms of picking lighting scenarios and so on. Because if I'm doing it in open space, then the lighting can end up being a little bit arbitrary. But if there's an actual scene that it's going to be in, I need to plan the lighting accordingly, basically from the get-go. Similarly to Eldritch Bread's commission with Static and the Trespasser as well, where the color choices are basically set from the get-go. So when you have come to your decision on what exactly you would like, on that front, then I will be able to plan accordingly. Gotcha? Okay, okay. If we're on the same page, then that's a good starting place. Same page, but wrong book and reading backwards. Oh no! Wait, I can't read! Oh no! It's okay, it's a picture book. Speaking of reading and picture books, I think I've mentioned it on the channel once before, but one of what I think is personally one of the prettiest comics that I've personally read is by an artist by the name of Electa Fencer. And what is absolutely stunning about the one in question, Haunter of Dreams it's called, is that it is a fully painted graphic novel with 0 dialogue. Right? So, like, there's a little bit of narration at the beginning and at the end, but the rest, the entire story, is conveyed entirely through these masterfully painted, illustrated pages that are beyond beautiful. Like, I know that Haunter of Dreams is available to read in webtoon format on Tapas, but I've got it in hard copy, and oh my word, it is one of the most beautiful things on my shelf. I cannot. It is so pretty. And every page is literally a full painting. It's mind-blowing and gorgeous, and please read it. It was worth. And it's... the title sounds a little bit ominous, but it's honestly a beautiful, beautiful story. It's a one-shot, basically, graphic novel, that takes place as part of a larger world build for Elector's Chronicles of Iria. And that also is like fully painted pages. There are 2 issues so far, both of which I also own in hard copy, and that's like so pretty and epic. And visual novel with essentially paintings as pages. That's awesome. It is awesome. Please go look at Electa Fence's art. German artist. Honestly, just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. 9 out. I cannot articulate just how much I love this person's art, because quite simply, if I had to get asked the question, who are my art Oshis? 2 names come to mind instantaneously, and that is Electa Fencer and Yume. Those are the 2 artists who come to mind, like at the drop of a hat. And yeah, definitely worth checking out, because oh my word, it's just so pretty. So pretty. Like, I absolutely adore Electa's use of texture. And the total cinematic environment work that we see. It's mind-blowing. What happens in environments in Electa's work. So 11 out of 10. Go check it out, please. It's worth it in every way, shape, and form. Okay, so that's the main outline for the dorsal view in place. Okay. Now we've got these structures over the hips, which are gonna wrap like so, and onto the tail, which is going to extend backwards like that. Let's just make sure there's nothing. No debris field that we're contending with later. Okay. And there's going to be a scoot. And another one. And another one. And another one. Okay, then there's a ridge that carries through. And wrong thing again. There we go. erase those. How many are there? That's the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right. There we go. And from here we have fur. Cool. From there we've got fur. Now, let's come back to our rear view. I want to get the shape for these little detail scales over here. Okay. Then for the wings slices, or where the wings attach, there we go. And then these arc upward. Okay. And then there are boundary scales. And boundary scales. This is all generally a missable detail, generally. But should someone encounter an artist who really enjoys doing repetitive painting work and getting all of the texture in, then having a reference for what textures go where is pretty valuable for them. Like, you get people who go into the zone when they go into, like, okay, we're drawing scales now. We're still drawing scales. Still drawing scales. And 3 days later, they're still drawing scales, but they're having fun with it. And they are actually actively enjoying the process. Those people exist. I do not claim to be one of them. Especially if I find someone to make a 3D model again. In your case, I would honestly recommend finding someone who you can do a sculpt first. Because if you've got someone who's using ZBrush, you can get sculpting brushes that basically take the scale shape and automate it. And then you retypo that onto a low poly base, which you bake down into normals. Or a normal map. It makes it so much easier than painting it manually. And then if you're doing it with normals, then it also becomes light reactive as well. So you've still got the low poly base to not make your machine fall over, but that's basically how they cheat extra texture and depth on a lower poly 3D modeling games. She did the scales on my 3D model by hand and then the normals. Yeah, if you're doing a sculpting pipeline, it's generally easier. But if you are working in Blender, sometimes the sculpting is a little bit more clunky than if you're working in ZBrush. Unfortunately, ZBrush is a really crazy expensive subscription, which is the only reason why I've not gotten into it. I do know that Blender's sculpting tools have had some improvements, but I've not yet investigated them to actually learn to get into the sculpting. Like, I'd love to be able to 3D sculpt. It seems like the most fun thing. I've just not actually, you know, been able to allocate the time to investing skill points in that particular tree. But yeah, it all depends on what they're working with. If you've got someone who's working in ZBrush, I've not played with the sculpting tools either. Yeah. I'd love to get into the 3D sculpting because it seems like just a lovely way of getting the feel for shape. I can imagine it being immensely useful for a bunch of my pipelines. My modeler did everything in Blender. Yeah, a lot of especially self-taught Blender artists don't really go to the sculpting side of things in a hurry. Because then the pipeline is sculpt, then retopologize, then bake down. Sometimes with the... what will happen is that the first thing that a lot of people do is they will take the high poly sculpt and texture paint that, and then use the high poly sculpt to also make an ambient occlusion map which goes into the texture paint as well, which generally makes texture painting so much easier too. I was self-taught, and the first 3D modeling app I used was technically an engineering design software, so I got used to drawing the lines by hand and then adding surfaces one at a time. Ah, yes. I think my first modeling software was Metasequoia. I've not heard that name in a small eternity. And then I briefly dabbled in SketchUp, and then I went to Blender. That was my pipeline of learning. Okay. Mine was a now discontinued app called Amapai 3D, and then I started dabbling in SketchUp. Ew, I see. I'd not heard of Amapai. Old Blender pre-UI overhaul, I could not figure out how to use it. Yeah, the UI overhaul was one of the best things to happen to Blender, honestly. It made it so much more user-friendly. Still not 100% accessible, in the early days, but it's getting better and better with each update, so... Slowly but certainly they're figuring things out. The 3D mouse also made a huge difference. I can believe that. Actually, that's something I should probably add to my nice-to-haves list. Now that I think about it. I should add that to my nice-to-haves list. It will be a useful tool to get into things. Without it, I'm basically unable to do anything, even in Blender. Sure. Sure. Okay. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this. And I'm just gonna close the circuit. Grab outside, invert, fill. On that. It's obviously got a mistake in that that all got grabbed as well, which we obviously do not want. So that gets cleared. I never learned the keyboard shortcuts for moving the viewport around. Yeah, I just use the gizmo. The gizmo, that little thing in the with axes on it. Unless I'm not understanding what you're referring to by the viewport moving around. You can use the gizmo to pan and rotate the viewpoint? Yeah. Yeah. I do it all the time. It's like my primary... How do I navigate around the 3D space? I use the gizmo. It's literally my primary how do I get around here. I always just used it as a point of reference, like a 3D compass. Yeah, no, it's actually it's actually got a functional bonus. It can be used to navigate too. Gasp. Okay. Or I would click one of the circles to snap to a specific direction. Yeah. Yeah, I do that too. If I need the top view. Yeah. Yeah, that's still one of the major ways that it gets incorporated. Okay. Now when it comes to living things, design and illustration, you are the wizard. I sometimes still feel like a baby wizard. But I am working towards getting better every day. So what we can do in the creative sphere is compete against ourselves and hopefully get good. But we're getting there. Okay, so the logic behind these scales being kind of separated like this is that they're supposed to have like this elasticy skin in between, like on the underside of a crocodile's jaw. So it's supposed to have a lot of space to expand. Before going into these more square scales over here. Chomp. Yep. Cat meat reptile logic. Let's just zoom out so that I've got a better sense of where I am. And can plan accordingly. I'm so glad that this is on a symmetry ruler. Okay, nearly done with the throat. Nearly done with the throat. Okay, then border. Scales go that way. Okay. Then that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So then that is going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now this texture nearly got it. Okay. Ventral side neck, done. Check. Now. These are going to be much, much smaller, looser, and rounder. Over here. Also, because it's got to be quite elastic in this space. Because the last thing you want is lots of sharp, stiff things in your armpit. It's not going to be comfy. Okay. There we go. That's area 6 sorted. Next is back to big ones on the waist area. But we've got, again, less distinct, rounder, tinier scales happening in the soft tissue areas. Where things move a lot between the leg and the hip bone. Also, not an area where you want big, sharp, clunky things that can dig into you while you move. And fur. Leading to the tail. Okay. Where are we? Over here. More small rounds. Up until they can't any further. Okay. Whew, lots of scales. But we're getting there. Arguably, when the dorsal and ventral parts are properly mapped up, we'll actually be about 70% of the way through the entire commission, which is kind of crazy. You know what I forgot to do again? I forgot to set another hydrate timer. Guys, I think it's time for everyone to acquire your nearest safe consumption beverage and take a sip. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my thumb a little bit of a break and go boil a kettle. Or if not boil a kettle, at least hopefully there'll still be enough water in the flask to make another cup of coffee. Because mine is long gone as of like 3 hours ago. Shad. Very, very shad. But yeah, we are making very, very, very good progress. Like, significantly good progress. Okay, let me just finish this rib. Let me finish the rib, and then I'm gonna go make coffee. Okay. And then just put our landmarks in there. Okay. Progress. Woohoo! Ventral view makes sense. Ventral view makes sense. I'm happy with that. Save. Not a bad idea right about now to hit the save button. even if I say so myself. Okay. So I'm gonna quickly go make myself some coffee. But I think I might have to do this reference in 2 shifts simply for the sake of my thumb, because my thumb is getting tired. Like, the repeated short strokes on these scales is actually making my thumb tired more than anything else. It's crazy. But 2 sessions should be enough to finish the thing, I think. So depending on what happens on Friday, I might actually finish this on Saturday, depending on what happens on Saturday as well. I don't know. I don't know how crazy my IRL is going to be on Saturday. Yet. I don't know yet how crazy my IRL is going to be on Saturday. Somehow not surprised by that. Yeah. It's a lot. We can't see it all at the exact same time right now, but let me see actually. If I do this and that and duplicate. No, I don't want to duplicate that. I want to just duplicate that. Grab those 2. Yep. Okay, now if I hide, that one goes in there, that one goes in there, hide ventral, go in here, and cut on our wing spaces. Now we've got an actual sense of where we are in the process. So still to be added to this are a front and back view, and basically copying in the wings. And I'm actually going to bring I'm going to copy in the wings and the eye text. Copy, paste. Oh my. The original ref sheet was huge. Okay. Okay. Undo. I really thought that it was smaller than that. So I can afford to stretch this more. Yay! More resolution! More resolution! Let's go 9,000 by 8,000. That should be a bit more to work with. Okay, paste. Okay. Hide the eye text for now. Yeah. Grab both of those, and then I'm just going to scale them down a bit because they're still currently a little bit needlessly big. Okay. This is going to be Vent. Door. Okay, so ventral, I'm gonna go grab that and flip it over. Grab both of those and align that right with the canvas. There we go. Cool, cool, cool. Now these two I want to grab. Make them a bit bigger, because why? I drew them on vector layers, so I can. And I want to just rotate it like this so that I can check. Let's get scales to more or less match. Okay. And do not keep aspect ratio. I want to make it just a bit wider. Okay. Okay, that's good. Now what I want to do is I want to come back to our canvas size again and trim this down to about here. Okay. Save. And already we're starting to look more like a reference sheet and less like we're just kind of in the middle of nowhere. It helps being able to just copy items from the previous version of what we were working with. But the eye texture I can make smaller here. And save. Right. So now, for realsies this time, I'm gonna go make coffee. See you in a bit. Also, I wanted to change the word momentarily. That's not, the word momentarily is not, easy language. Let's go soon. And what do you know? That even looks better on the page. Hee. Okay, now for realsies this time. Coffee. Okay, I am back. Coffee acquired. Hooey. Okay. Okay. Here. Alright. So progress has been made on our reference sheet. Welcome back, thank you! Caffeination acquired. But I do think I am definitely going to do a second session on this in the interest of not accidentally breaking my hand. What I am gonna do in the meantime though is I'm just gonna add a little bit of color to the scales on this dorsal and ventral view so far that exist that have this glow that we see on the anthroref. So there are a couple of places where we can already put that detail in place. So I think that is going to be the last thing that we do for today on this, before I go into give my hand a chance to recover mode after all of these scales. But yes, we are doing pretty well. I just want to check. Yeah, I'm not gonna do how do I want to do this? I'm not gonna do the fluff that the patches of green and the floof just yet. But I think for the rest of it, we can start putting in some color in places. So first things first, we're gonna grab here. Okay. Right. Something like that. And then the second color is going to be the dark green. Which we're going to lock that opacity. And that is going to fade in. Like that. Okay. First set. Next. Tiny glowies. There. Really? Okay. It's being the dumb. but it's fine. Okay, there's that. Now before we go anywhere else, we need to apply those so that we can apply you and you. There we go. So far so good there. Now we've got the row of rib scales that's gonna need their glowies. Take that away. Like that. Almost through with the ribs. Okay, there we go. Now, abdominal scales. Okay. I wonder, can I get away with selecting every second set? Probably. That way, I won't necessarily need to spend as much time reselecting each time. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Okay. And deselect. And we're gonna start at the bottom this time so that I'm not doing battle like I was the first time around. There we go. Gotcha. Okay. Then here. Like that. Like that. Slightly smaller. Like that. Okay. Oh wait, it only went down a certain way. So now what we can do is we can just take this again and ease that like so. Yep, that'll do. Okay, that'll do. So that is belly scales almost done. Now it's just the throat. So over here, what that's gonna be is we're gonna start by just airbrushing this in. And then over here, we grab like so, and we grab like so. Okay. Airbrush. Make it bigger. And like so. There we are. Okay. Ventral coloration sorted. Check. Next, dorsal needs to actually have the scalation put in first. So it's got a ways to go before I can do that. But in terms of that, it is just the floof in the mantle and the rib glowies. So let's see what we can do about the rib glowies. Okay, that should do that. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab with this, just grab ourselves a couple of wedges. And on this, we're just gonna... nope, not like that. Let's add a couple more. There we go. So that is going to be mantle floofs there. Now we need to do the shoulder scale glowies. There we go. Now we need to just come in here. Eyebrows. And inner ears. And trim that back. There we go. All good. Okay. So that is, in fact, dorsal and ventral covered. So hide that symmetry ruler. Hide that symmetry ruler, and I will do the scales on the dorsal side when I touch this next time, which is probably going to be Tuesday or Wednesday next week. One of the two. But now I think it's time for everyone to acquire our nearest safe for consumption beverages and grab a sip. While coffee is still warm, that I just quickly went to go make a couple of minutes back. Hush. But yeah. Our feral translation is going pretty well so far. So yeah. Anthro. And feral. These two look like they go together. As they should. Ah, getting there. Getting there. I am happy so far. So practically these references could be sent to an artist together or separate and still get the idea across. I'm probably gonna copy these sections from the tail as well, from the Anthroref, because those are pretty much ideal to just drag in next to the dorsal and ventral view appropriately. Yeah, then it's just the front and back that need work. And obviously the scalation on the dorsal view, and then finishing up side view. Arguably, the ventral view is where the most of the detail actually lives, in terms of, brain work, where does this actually reside? So now that that is in place, I'll be able to translate that appropriately onto the belly over here without any issues. It is interesting though, what we're going to see in the front view. We're actually going to be able to see the contour of those chest scales for the first time. Because while it's implied on the anthro form, the front view on the feral is going to be the first time that we actually basically get a top-down view on how those scales are actually shaped. It's going to be good to see. Krahazik, would you be opposed to me making an adjustment to your anthro reference sheet with updating the swatch to have my current credits and also the hex codes for your colors in blocks like what I do with my other reference sheets? Would you mind if I do that? I just think it is probably gonna help people a little bit with actually having the hex codes. But yeah, I think we're pretty much where I'm gonna leave it for today, in the interest of being able to draw again tomorrow. Save. Save. January 2024 already. Good grief. January 2024. Is that really when I worked on this? Wow. Okay. Crazy. Oh, wow. Anyway. Folks. Alex! Gasp! A celebration as I finished A Realm Reborn. Congratulations! Ah! That was a speed run of note. Wow. Wow. Flurp. I can see myself needing to be on catch-up soon. Wowee! Ah. I completed it in 3 days. Well, I suppose when you're not doing much else, it's not impossible. I'll slow down now, I just wanted to catch up. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun to try and progress from here as a team a little bit. Because that's not something I've ever done before. So, it'll be completely new ground for me. Honestly. Slightly nervous for it, but at the same time, incredibly excited. You'll be fine, don't worry. I'm glad you think so. And we'll see. I'm honestly, more than anything, I am scared for the first raid. The first 20-person raid. I think it's 20 people? It's, non-skippable, 12? 12. MSQ thing that I think happens in the first patch. Yeah, I'm kind of scared for that. Wait, it's 8? Oh, is it 8? I don't know, it's been a while. I know it's more than one form. I know it's more than one party. I know it's for a fact more than a light party. 2 tanks, 2 healers, 4 DPS. Okay, so it's a full party, not a light party. Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of scared for that because, like, big time noob. Big time noob. But when we get there, it'll be interesting. Let's head over to the room. Woohoo! The big one you're thinking of is guild raids, which is like 34 people parties. 3-4 people parties. Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't know if one of those is also an unskippable thing that you have to do to be able to participate, to be able to, not participate, progress in story. But, I think, yeah, that's the big one I'm a little bit scared of. There are a couple, yeah. That's the thing that I am most anxious for. Is because I don't want to be so bad at my job that it messes everyone else around. Whatever job I happen to be doing when we get to that point. But yeah. I still want to consider the playthrough that I'm currently doing a completionist run. So methinks when it comes to fleshing out every little drop of content that I can out of A Realm Reborn, including all of the side questing that is still coming, I really don't want to rush through it. But at the same time, I don't necessarily want to waste other people's time. So I don't know if you guys are only interested in MSQ or if you're also interested in going through all of the little things in the side. But it's just something that I want to still do, is kind of squeeze every drop that I can out of the free trial. I am a little bit in two minds about how it's going to play out from this point. Because I do still want to actually go through the motions of, yes, trying out the different jobs and also figuring out what I'm actually best at. Because to date, the number of classes that I've actually played are quite limited. So Never done the side quest, so I can't really comment on it too much. Yeah, a lot of it is like fetch questing. So it's pretty basic stuff. However, one of the reasons why I am doing the whole thing of going through the completionist route is also for the voice acting practice. So in that regard, I also want to not skip all of those free lines of dialogue that can be acted. Because there's a lot of supporting information and little Easter eggs littered about in the side quests. And, ooh, and that is not even touching on the madness that is Hildebrand. Like, wow. So, yeah, I once got unexpectedly drawn into the Hildebrand questline, not realizing what it was. Oh man, was that a riot. That's fun. Hildebrand is just funny. So, some people think it's a little over the top, but you know what? If you can't have a little bit of over the top fun with a character who is very, very, very obviously designed to be comedic relief, and his antics, Hildebrand is great. Yes. Yeah, there are a couple of comic relief / Gatmoy characters scattered throughout Final Fantasy XIV, and they're just likable. And the glamour from his quests are better. Oh. I actually can't remember if I ever got as far as getting any glamour items when I got dragged into his quest line, but yeah. That is something to look forward to as well. That's definitely something to look forward to. Like, I feel like I definitely want to clear the side quests in Limsa Laminsa before we get too deep into the patches as well, because I'm pretty sure there might be spoilers. I feel like there are spoilers in the patches if you have not played through the side quests. I feel like that's definitely the case. Because there was an event that I remember playing once, which was an oceanic battle, and in the preamble to that some interesting things happened, and also there was a Sahagin siege that also had some interesting context behind it. And I feel like I don't know if I'm now misremembering things, about order of operations, which is not entirely impossible. But I think that was all side quests or patch stuff. And I think it would be nice to at least have gone through a bunch of getting side context on events and history, and you also get a lot of context from doing alternative class quests. Like, you get a lot of world building when you're doing alternative class quests. Like, I know the monk storyline, you get quite a lot of information about Alamigo, I think. And of course you get a lot of information about the way that the forest behaves when you're doing the Gridanian stuff, especially the White Mage, if I remember correctly. I think I've only ever played White Mage once now that I think about it. I don't think I ever got past level 15 or so, if I remember correctly, on White Mage. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I think it's... I think it's worth doing a slow progress through the rest of the stuff in A Realm Reborn before continuing with, you know, more MSQ madness. The benefit of running around doing the side questing in a party while leveling subclasses as well, and doing class quests, is that you can kind of help power level each other and get through it all a little bit faster. So there's that. Of course, when you've got one person who's reading all of the dialogue, maybe that's not going to necessarily be quite as expedient, but at least it makes the combat encounters go that little bit faster. In the like fetch quest encounters, especially if the team coordinates to do the same sorts or the same quest lines at the same time when it comes to your side questing, because then everyone is at the same NPCs at the same time to do the stuff. So yeah, it might be a strategy. It might be a strategy. But yeah. Tomorrow we are continuing with our Owl crossover challenge entry. So we're gonna start by drawing a lizard. Yeah, it's gonna be lizard time tomorrow. And we're gonna see if we can get that looking okay. It should be a lot less scales, interestingly enough, because I'm gonna see what I can do about how can I phrase this? I'm gonna see what I can do about cheating texture instead of actually drawing it in explicitly. So hopefully that will work out nicely. Hopefully. I'm just thinking. Yeah, we'll see exactly how it ends up behaving. Because it's also going to end up being in our kind of webtoonish cell shading style that I am trying to get good at. So I want to try and basically do as many different kinds of illustrations with the same sort of methodology as possible to see exactly how versatile it is and if it's going to be something that I can stick with as well. So the sort of diffuse lighting from the mists of Misthaven and the interesting combat encounter in midday, basically. It's a very interesting sort of a lighting scenario. It's not something that I think one regularly encounters in the real world. If you've ever seen mist at midday, and you have a reference photo, please do you mind sharing it with me? Because that would be really, really useful. Otherwise, I'm gonna just wing it. and we'll see how it ends up looking. So I think that's going to be a lot of playing with texture more than with light, which is going to be a really interesting thing, given that the light is going to be pretty diffuse. So it's gonna be an interesting challenge to work with, and we'll see how that ends up looking in the end. We'll see. Beyond that, what did I say? Possibly Friday I'm gonna start on the sketch for Toaster, and possibly tomorrow I'm going to be an absolute zombie because I've got to do my switch back to my own time zone tomorrow, but I've got to be conscious usually when I'm in the middle of my time zone switching sleep, so that's gonna be weird. Tomorrow I'm gonna need to actually play a little bit by ear because I have no idea how it's actually gonna end up going. So for those of you who don't know, I work on a biphasal sleep cycle that is basically allowing me to exist and be administratively present, and able to assist with domestic stuff around the house in the morning in my time zone, while also being here to stream at between the hours of midnight and 4 a.m. So I have a second sleep in the afternoon, usually. But on the weekends I switch back to my own native time zone in order to be able to meet any social expectations that happen over the weekend. And Thursday is the day where I reset into that time zone. Which is why Thursday is always gonna be, or always gonna be is a little bit of a strong term for it. For the foreseeable future, the Thursday streams are going to continue to be in Europe time, late evening Europe time, late night Europe time, but before midnight. So that I can actually go to bed afterwards and then sleep and wake up at a sane hour for the weekend and get into that rhythm for 3 days. So tomorrow I've kind of not got the sleep through that I usually do on a Thursday. So I'm basically going to need to operate Thursday into Friday with the same sort of sleep schedule that I usually have on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. How can I phrase this? Yeah, how exactly it's going to logistically work, I have no idea, but it's going to be interesting. Usually on Thursdays, I go to bed after a stream at like 5 in the morning, and then I sleep through till like 1 in the afternoon, and then I wake up, and then I'm okay. And to go to bed again normally at midnight-ish, and be back into a rhythm on a Friday. But yeah. It's not gonna work the way that way this week. But yeah. I don't know what Friday and Saturday are gonna bring, practically. I'm gonna try and get some things done still. Then yeah, hopefully soon we will be able to pull the last things together for Zany's reference sheet as well. outfit design that we worked on for the longest time is finally at the point where it can get pulled in to the reference sheet. We're just doing some work on the base first, so we're working on some refinements on the base character design and base outfit, and then we're going to have the secondary outfit as a secondary outfit on the ref. And I'm gonna need to do some 3D modeling because where there's a sword that if I do not include a 3D model in the packaging, it is almost guaranteed that we are going to have artists come at me with pitchforks. So, yeah, that is the thing that's gonna need to happen. I'm not 100% sure what file type I'm going to export that 3D model in yet, to be able to import into like Clip Studio and or other packages for posing. I can't remember 3D file types right now. But yeah, otherwise, if I don't include that model, then artists are gonna come at me with pitchforks because the sword is interesting looking, and with that interest comes detail, and detail on a weapon without a 3D base is difficult to reproduce. So the 3D is definitely gonna need to be a thing. I need to sleep. Hope everyone has a good sleeper day. Yes, thank you, Alex. We are all going to go nap now. Thank you again for the donation. I really, really appreciate it. Each little bit is one step closer to having 3D Harrier be a thing. That is, in fact, the goal that we are still working towards. I have an artist lined up who is basically primed for me to say, okay, I've got the funding, let's go. So we are saving up for that quite significantly. And with that, we'll be able to start looking at some other cool and interesting things, some animation stuff, some 3D animation practices and things. And yeah, it's gonna be hopefully a whole lot of interesting. On top of, you know, having a little bit more flexibility in terms of how I can move and stuff in stream. So, yes. It's one of the reasons why as soon as I'm done with Zany and Krahazik's references, the next one that I'm working on is Harrier in terms of canon for Project Misthaven mode, because this is still the preliminary design, basically, from 2 years ago. Which was before I realized, Project Misthaven is gonna be a thing. So, yeah. I'm gonna need to include those updates. Soon. So, I think I have teased the reference sheet to you guys before with the rough idea of what is changing. It's pretty much all in the outfit. It's not pretty much all in the outfit, it is all in the outfit. I did get a quote for what we could squeeze out of it if we reduce the funding quite significantly, but then there's going to be a lot that I'm going to need to do myself. But the goal is basically the full quote that I got for like a whole hog model with conversions into all of the things for like VR chat and Warudo, etc. So it would be nice to know that we can, okay, get close to that. but we will work our way there, slowly but certainly. And yeah, once we've gotten a little bit through all of the long-standing commission madness, I'll also start going back into continuing the ebony model that I'm busy making in Blender as well, considering we've been speaking about 3D a lot today. I am going to continue working on ebony again, hopefully soon as well. This whole thing of, okay, I touch it once in 3 months is not exactly ideal for productivity and remembering how to do the things. I can't even remember at what point in the modeling process he's at. But yeah, we're gonna keep on plugging away at that end. Yeah, once we've got ebony done, we're gonna move on to the next person, and we're gonna roll the dice and see, okay, who's gonna be next up in the queue for a medium poly model. So that's gonna be the vibe. Because why? I also would like Misthaven characters that I can also do animated stuff with more easily than in 2D. So a medium poly model seems like okay, that can work. Legitimately, I am honestly thinking like Final Fantasy XIV level modeling detail. It feels like the right amount of visual information for what I'm aiming for. Still tame enough for my machine to not weep. With how it's getting used, but definitely with enough going for it to at least have some degree of, okay, this does actually functionally look good. So that's gonna be the plan. I'm really looking forward to seeing exactly how I'm going to stylize it in terms of the hand-painted textures, because it's definitely going to be hand-painted textures. And yeah, there's a couple of things that I'm looking forward to. Seeing, okay, how shiny am I gonna make the armor and for the Mistgard uniform? And okay, how am I going to apply shadows? How anime am I gonna make this? Those are the things that I'm looking forward to figuring out stylistically. So we'll get there. We'll get there. One thing I do think that I want to do is I want to do the modeling and rigging for all of the characters, and then once I've got all of them set, then I want to go into UV painting in that manner. Sort of once I've got all of them sort of modeled and rendered, then UV paint everyone, and then that will hopefully have some semblance of consistency. So like, do all of the UV painting on all of the skin same time, and then do all of the UV painting on all of the hair same time, and then all of the UV painting on all of the armor same time. Actually, if I'm very clever, then I'd use the same UV map for all of the armor. If I'm very clever, I use the same UV map for all of the armor. And then I just tweak where the vertices sit to fit the different characters. Maybe that will work. Maybe that will work. Obviously, there's going to be need to be a different UV map for the paladins, the skirmishers, and for the sentinels, but it could work. It could work. Yeah, I'm thinking aloud now. Is that obvious that I'm rambling? Is it obvious that I'm rambling? I think it's obvious that I'm rambling. Also, it's obvious that I am looking sideways to chat. Okay. I might need to look at rearranging my room a little bit. Oh no. Or at least on which side of the screen the live chat is, so that it actually looks like I'm looking at you guys. How is that actually gonna look? How is that actually gonna look? Let me see. I'm now curious. Well, let's see if I'm gonna break something. If I put you on that side, like that. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, it feels like that. And if I just squeeze this way, how does that look? That is actually not bad. Just give it a little bit of breathing room. So it means that I lose the thing on the table in terms of being able to see it, but we actually then see the shelf that's above the bed, which is also not maybe a bad thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an adjustment over here. This is going to be the new rule. So here, where is the setting that I'm looking for? This one. And record position. There we go. Okay, nice. Now that actually looks like I'm looking at you guys when I'm looking at you guys. I was feeling bad about that. I was feeling really, really bad about that. So note to self, I am supposed to be on the prompt side? Prompt, yes, it is prompt. Side of the screen to look like I'm looking at you guys. Because port and starboard is only applicable when you've got something that's got a defined front. But in the case of like theater or screen space, then using maybe prompt and OP are more appropriate terminology. Yeah, so prompt is basically the side of the stage where the director sits, just inside the curtain, to prompt actors and call cues for stage hands and lighting and sound engineers, and actually call the cues off of the script so that everything progresses in the right way. And the side of the screen that I'm currently standing on is, if you imagined my room was a stage, that would be the prompt side of the stage. So that's prompt, that's opposite prompt. If I'm not mistaken. If I remember from the big stage that I have experience with, then yes, that's prompt. I've had some really weird experiences. Was this huge opera theater stage that I had spent like 4 years basically having regular interactions with that stage. It was insane. But I was on that stage quite a lot. It was crazy. Back when I was singing with choirs. It's a really good opera theater, actually. The design of the place is immaculate. I mean, it's just huge. There's something like... It's like if you imagine the size of a stage being, however big it is. Basically, you have the entire size of the stage on either side of it, both on prompt and on opposite prompt, but in a backstage space, as well as in a rectangle, the depth of the stage behind the stage as well. And then make the entire thing like 5 levels with huge elevators to be able to pull entire sets up and down on that stage. I think the height of the space, the visible stage space, is I think like 3 stories. It's insanely huge, that stage. It still boggles my mind sometimes that I had that experience. But yeah, it was a season. It was a season. Yeah, no. There's been a couple of weird and wonderful lifetimes out there. That's all I can say. Anyway, yeah, the rambling is now rambling like crazy now. I'm losing brain cells at an alarming rate for this day. Everyone, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. We got a lot done on Krahazek's reference. We are easily past the halfway mark. And I shall keep you posted in regards to how tomorrow is going to end up working. Because it could go any which way. And I will rather communicate with you guys and let you know if there's any weird changes on account of my being a zombie. But yeah, we'll see. And I'll see y'all probably tomorrow then. Rest well when you get to it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for spending the time lurking and chatting. It really, really, really means everything, because I know the time is on a premium for everyone, really. And it is very humbling that you guys decide to spend any amount of it hanging around here. So I appreciate it plenty. Until next time, thank you guys so much, and cheery bye. Night night.